Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Aces Chronicles. Let's carry on where we left off. It's been a hot minute since I last uploaded an episode for the series, and for that I apologize. It's been a rough couple of weeks, personally, and I didn't want to upload anything while I was down in the dumps, but I think I managed to pull myself together, and we can press on because, shit man, video games are my escape, and recording these playthroughs for you guys means a heck of a lot to me. Plus, who the hell else is going to defend Mr. Natsume? Poor guy's in a distant land on trial for attempted murder, thanks to that hack Herlock Sholmes, so let's get back to it. Mr. Natsume's arrest. Inspector Gregson, give us your testimony. I need to reacquaint myself with what's going on. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Right, well, relatively straightforward. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? I think I'm going to need to refer to the court record. I don't even think I examined some of the evidence we got, in terms of flipping through, rolling it around, inspecting every nook and cranny. If you're unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. I'm pretty sure they were about ready to declare him so in the first 5 minutes, so one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. Yeah, let's fist bump. It's only just begun, but yeah, I like that attitude. Sato? Okay, we start off with this second-hand book receipt. Your book, 17th February, 4:45 p.m. Mr. Natsume, 2 shillings for 3 books. We've got a case file. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. The victim is olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. Sorry, her name is Olive Green, not, what she looks like. She was found on the pavement of Briar Road. Reporting officer was Rolly Beat. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Not her coat that she was wearing. Other details are unknown. Apart from a single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. So he had some time to get out of the country. He did not, because he's innocent, of course. We got a jackknife, a large but commonplace folding knife, lodged in the victim's back. Pretty sure we can unfold this. Let's go ahead and do so. Is it just me, or does it look kind of blunt? Not to mention there's no blood on it at all.
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Mr. Sato. Hey, I saw it too, I
wonder what could have happened to it.
Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? You don't think she absorbed it?
Oh dear. I do hope not. It sounds terribly painful.
Okay, it does sound painful. You're not wrong. Is there anything else regarding this? The fact that there's no blood on it has me kind of concerned. I suppose we do have the photo we can look at as well. There's the knife. It's lodged pretty deep into her, don't you think? We can't examine anything here apart from glide our magnifying glass over things. Can't see her face, which is interesting. You'd think would take more than one photograph. I see why they took this photo, because of the knife on in her back. Okay, I must admit I don't quite know where to begin. Probably because it has been quite a while, I'm so sorry. So, I think this is a good excuse to just press every statement we've got from Inspector Gregson, starting with it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog. And yeah, that's what it's famous for. It's fogginess. That's it. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. Plus, it's kind of borderline offensive saying our city is only beautiful when it's foggy. What are you trying to say? Like, if someone's wearing a full covered mask that they're handsome? Imagine. I see. We don't need fog for the city to be beautiful. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Wow. Indeed. The other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. You sure that's nothing to do with the fact that your glasses are rather small there, Your Honor? Oh, Susato-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Ugh. Yeah, I bet. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Okay, I do want to press this one. This is an interesting statement. If we apparently have 2 witnesses to the crime, right? How could you say that there was no one around? How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend. Because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Doesn't that just prove that there was no one there? Like, that there was someone there then? How could there be witnesses if no one was around? Yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
Must be the patrolman, the arresting officer. That is correct, ma'am. Oh, God. Then we must hear their testimony, obviously. Even if it is a bit early in the trial. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But, wait a minute. 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of the winter. It would have been dark already. And no matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen... I'm unaware of the situation in your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. You have electricity here? The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Completely. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Taking inventory, I see. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed. From behind, you say? Well, yes, the knife is in her back. You don't think he reached around, did you? That's right, as you can see from this print. The not bloody knife. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. She must have some thick skin. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition. Comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's been treated at Bart's. You know, Bart's. I was hopeful it should come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. So shouldn't we postpone the trial then until she wakes up? Like, do we have to do this now? I suppose we don't know when she's going to wake up, but still, you could have just kept Mr. Natsume locked up until she could give a statement as to what really happened. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. Yes, he is so unbelievably lucky, you have no idea. The fact that he scattered 3 books around and you guys found him the next day. Incredible. He needs to pull that rabbit's foot out of his ass. Oh, God. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky, like myself. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Sorry, I'll shrink them. And there you go. Ugh. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Okay, we can't see the title of the books. We're just gonna have to assume that they match what's on the receipt. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. Really? The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. What, was he using the books as a shield? Was he trying to do some sort of Elden Ring build with his little measly knife and 3 books as a shield and ran up to this woman and stabbed her? Like, wouldn't he, like, at least bring the books home before going to stab her? Why even do so on the way home from a bookshop? I don't understand.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
Yes. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord. Yes, I could easily stab you while I have these chips in my other hand as well. Oh, shit. Okay, good point. There's been a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. Yes, I can see you're practically glowing. The bloke's room was stacked full to floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? It's not here in my notes. Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Alright. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. That doesn't match what's on the receipt. A little place at the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Uh-huh. Something like this. The local map's information has been updated in the court record. Okay, handy. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. Kinda glad that I started pressing every statement before getting updated evidence. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being the bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe. Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue, you can tell by my wide eyes. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance, because I'm just a measly judge, and this person's life is in my hands, quite literally. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? What am I, Chandler Bing now? Okay, he was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes. That would be incorrect. Go ahead and present the receipt.
Deduction.
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. Sunshine? This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. There we go. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume, because, you know, it's not like your mum. Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Turns out Your Books is like literally right where the crime took place. Imagine. What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's devastating to my case. It's such a small place. I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection.
The guy is studying English literature. Of course he's going to know every bookshop in the vicinity. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection.
Yes. For what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection.
Actually, I disagree. I mean, after all, it could alter his route. What if he came from a different direction entirely?
I have the street map here if it might be of help.
Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. I appear to have torn the map in two because I've got 2 pages here. If the defendant had been returning from bourbon books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, your books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said?
Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Yeah, don't declare him guilty. And don't put your boot on your disc there, Van Zeeks. Inspector Gregson, where's this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Obviously. It turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Meersham Street going east. So yeah, you still could have absolutely taken that route. I suppose I do have the doubt now. It's not an absolute certainty. He could have taken Calabash. Local maps information has been updated. Perfect. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now. Clearly. Oh, well, fuck. Pour a drink for your homie. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be... Good one. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. You bastard!
Girl, you put that glass down now, I'll put it down for you.
Didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. Great. If the accused was coming in from Your Books instead of bourbon books, it just would have taken a bit longer. There's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Okay, so we're saying that the victim was stabbed before 5 p.m. He left Your Books at 4:45 at the very least, because that's the time printed on the receipt. Maybe we could argue that that's an extra 2-minute walk, and as a result, he might not have intercepted Miss Green. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend, who's still lacking the makeup of a clown. Wherever the man purchased his musty tones, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Oh! I'm done before we've even begun!
As I suspected, you can't fool me, and don't suggest you try.
Sorry, I'm all flustered. That clown statement's got me good. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up.
What do you mean?
If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
She's absolutely right.
We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Saseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books, but I have to raise an objection. We're gonna bluff our way through it. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Are you serious? Are you gonna jump through a hoop now? Launch yourself out of a cannonball? Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from Your Books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places, obviously. He's just trying to cut off the routes. The alternative routes, I should say. If he can do that with disproving the claim that Mr. Natsume's hands were full with the 3 books, I can certainly posit an alternative route home from Your Books. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that... Wait for it. That route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. For all we know, he wanted the scenic route. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Because he felt like it. Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. I mean, it's a given that he's gone that route, right? Otherwise, how did his books end up next to Miss Green?
Objection!
But, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. He'll obviously lie, you dimwit. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection, quote unquote. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. Exactly, it was aimless. He didn't know it was the long way around. He probably thought it was a shortcut. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Otherwise you will have no recollection of how hard I just whooped your ass. Pray, what say you insightful jurors? I can't watch. But even if that is the case, the defense still... Please, hold on. Wait. I agree with Lord Van Zeeks, wholeheartedly, and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well, in that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty.
They all have voices.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Well, shit, that was fast. All at the same time, more or less. Well, Mr. Natsume, I tried. Sorry, I shouldn't have come back. I should have just stayed on hiatus. It would appear that the jury's leaning is unanimous, and the journey is over. All that preparation. Done in 5 minutes. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo.
I suck. No. Not yet. This isn't over yet. I ain't here, Nobel. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out the summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncas refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then, I see he's got a reputation already. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Here we go. Judicial Findings. The juror's contentions. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim. The man would have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Okay, great. Thank you for the recommendation. Didn't realize we're on Yelp. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now.
Why did he have to run away like that? Now we're supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see. This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? What the hell? It's ridiculous. Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to do my job. I have to defend. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Okay. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. We can do it. Except nothing jumped out at me. We're just going to have to play it by ear. The defense's rebuttal. Okay, with nothing obvious popping out at us, we're going to need to press some of these statements. I do think there's going to be a link between juror number 2 and 4, how the woman was attacked from behind and how she collapsed before his very eyes. So let's start with this. You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing moustache is the culprit.
But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly. Claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are... foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. Yeah, jackass!
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious? No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime.
Ugh.
If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you are too kind, my lord.
That went well. For her. Great. Okay, let's move on to jury number 4. Whoops.
Hold it!
Whatever's the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garadeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume's room?
The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand.
Surely there's a conflict of interest here. She's keeping up that charade? Ugh, this is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean?
Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice.
I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now.
And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this?
Oh my goodness me, yes! He's just the sort.
What? No. What? No.
Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous moustache.
What's with his moustache?
The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something.
What is this, a cave? Is he building a bomb with a box of scraps?
Oh dear. Poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm. Nothing more. I'm a bookworm too. I read my big blue book. It's got every information that we need in these trials.
Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She said enough damning things already. Okay, well, nothing really jumped out there. I suppose we go to juror number 6. I'm curious about his opinion about the different bookshops, I suppose. Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what? No, what I said was hold it. Like I need to hold my armband. What I wanted to ask you was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Wait, what? You were there? At what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Wait, you've got a green coat too! Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh, yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What happened, sir? Please explain. I think I know who to pitch you against. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and dunked my head. It was always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road. That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement immediately. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No. I'm quite alright now. Thank you for your concern, though.
It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective.
I agree. It's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. The guy just wants to go back to work, really? Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something.
We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo, cunningly.
Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again, carefully. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other. And have a duel to the death.
Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other.
I would if I could, but I only need to do 2. Alright, here we go. Juror number 2 and juror number 6. A woman in green collapsed before his eyes. Versus the man in the green coat slipping over himself. He's not quite a woman, but he is wearing a green coat, and he was on Calabash Road. That can help prove that the route he took was indeed the long way around.
Objection!
Picked! Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Juror number 6 is not a woman? Well, juror number 2, juror number 6.
My, whatever do you mean, sir?
Huh? You want me to have sex?
I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you.
Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot.
But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes.
Yes, we're all aware of this. The poor young woman was stabbed, obviously.
Objection!
Can we really be sure of that, madam?
My, whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. He's the one that's hard of hearing, not you. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my. My goodness. You mean?
That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6, who's stroking his beard like he doesn't give a shit what's going on.
Well, are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. No offense. Well, look at that.
My goodness me.
Sorry?
You need a pee.
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
What say you? You idiot old man, if you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed us off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days, Is it a crime to slip over on the eyes? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
Hold it. Let me pamper myself first. My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you. And I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well, can I just do what I bloody want? There we go. Of course you may. 2 more.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only... If we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zeeks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. This fucking antiquated law! Damn it! That's what he's thinking right now. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. Okay, let's head up juror number 3. About how he wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
Hold it!
Curious about this, but you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Especially now that we've established that there's a possibility he was on Calabash Road. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean. What was it, Calabash Road or something? Precisely. I'm a pretty good drawer, don't you think? But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true as well. Yeah. Am I pressing you or are you pressing me? Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. But it's not dark. You've conquered the dark, haven't you? Yes. Why is this all true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. The reason why Saseki-san might have taken the longer way home.
Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Well, I'm gonna need to find one, won't I? Let's go back to juror number 1, Mr. Fairplay.
Hold it!
Nice to see you again. Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. And now here I am, back in this dastardly courtroom. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry. Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now, there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. And just to spite your ass, I'm going to declare your client guilty. Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history.
Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Probably still putting ladies first. Well, that leaves one more person. Juror number 5 who doesn't give a shit.
Hold it!
Press. I'll keep you here as long as I damn well please. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too. And so is my family's. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That, must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? You didn't have to be doing some road works that might have given Mr. Natsume a good reason to travel along Calabash Road, so I can pitch you against juror number 3. That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. Who picks the jurors in this case, man? God, it's like everyone's involved. We got at least confirmation jurors 4, 5, and 6 are close to this case. Juror number 1 was in a previous case 2 days ago, which just leaves 2 and 3 somewhat unrelated. What? Another coincidence? Jeez. Maybe I am lucky after all. That's right, Meersham Street it was. Meersham Street.
On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets.
Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. Alright, on the day it happened, I was digging up Meersham Street from dawn till dusk. Let's just make sure that I am not talking out of my butt. Meersham Street had some roadworks taking place. Cool, I'm happy. Pit against number 3.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel. Explain yourself.
Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3.
Oh, me, sir? What do you mean?
Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meersham Street, making it impossible. Which means the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meersham Street and down Briar Road.
Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. That would explain why there was no traffic along Briar Road when we came along, maybe. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice.
Yes. My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may.
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yeah. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened.
Boom. Well, Van Zeeks, how you finding my circus? What about you, sir? Who, me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say. Although I better be compensated for this. Alright. The last 2 remaining people. Declaring him guilty. Have some sort of grudge against me. Well, that summation examination is concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
You're kidding me! Oh, no, he's going to take a sip. He's not going to throw it or shatter in his hand. Oh, here it comes. Done. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Pray, only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap parlor trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. A clown.
Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
Yeah, that'll get them on your side. I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I said is the truth. They are definitely intelligent jurors. Indeed. Stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir. That's right, took me the whole day and they paid me a measly 2pence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. I truthfully do not have a clue. Who measures things in yards anymore?
2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Really? What?
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. Thankfully, you've got a conversion rate in your blue book. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Okay, well, he had 3 books in his hands. Do you really think he'd go on a gymnastic run through Meersham Street? Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway, and we just turn any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman, as far as I can see. Wow, that's offensive. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in this meanderings around town. Yeah, but if he had to vault over a 2-meter gap, wouldn't he surely have remembered that?
Is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Crushed in a single sentence. And, old man. Old man, you can talk. You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say as I remember. Oh, great. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Oh! Order! Order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. The summation examination is over. My lord, if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to see how stupid the jurors were, and, well, I've got my $12 worth. I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I love Lord Ventu. Oh god, he's great. He's already one of my favorite prosecutors. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. Ugh. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. Uh-oh. Oh my. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. Didn't matter, it was too foggy for me to see anyway. What are you talking about? My lord. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses?
Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that they were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Even though you could barely see across the street and there were only 2 people there? Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less.
I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
Alright. No matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Saseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end. Until this battle is over. I will not give up! Oh my. It's Regina from Justice for All. Witnesses, please state your name and occupations for the court. And I can't even begin to describe this police officer. What the heck? His low-res scarf. Oh dear me. Constable Royal beat S.A.H. Oh, sorry. S.A.H. Nothing to report on the street, sir. Okay. Thank you for that introduction.
And I'm Mrs. Beats. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town's hero's wife.
Wow. Okay. You guys look like you're straight out of high school. What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
Roly moly. No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually. Yes, we have. Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. Jesus. Okay. God. Maybe hire some more people.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all.
I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. Yes, he looks very honorable. And a man of slumber. Very funny, clown. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction. And they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Roly?
Yeah. Constable Royal Beat, sir! Nothing to report on the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir! Let me just dream about it. Alright, what do we got? What the witnesses saw.
It was our wedding anniversary, and while Roly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, 2 silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed to the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day.
Right. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. She's the only one who said anything.
Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the Summation Examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate chancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Well, except that the man's so tired his wife has to do all the talking. She's probably wearing his pants. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. Well, thankfully I only have to cross-examine one witness here.